Welcome to another episode of the Sussex Non-League podcast, where we take a look at all the latest goings on at grassroots football in the county. I'm Matt Poll and delighted to be joined by Sussex sport gurus Steve Bone and Mark Dunford. The National League South, Isthmian Premier and Isthmian South East seasons are now up and running, with 16 teams across 3 divisions hoping to bring glory back to Sussex. It's been a bright start for some of our sides in the Isthmian Premier, with 1 topping the table and 2 more sitting in the top 7. We'll bring you all the latest from our clubs at steps 2 to 4, plus we'll bring you all the news from the Southern Combination Football League and preview an exciting weekend of cup action. But first, we will start in the National League South, where both Worthing and Eastbourne Borough compete. How have the Reds and Sports started the new season? It seems like it's been a bit of a mixed start for Borough from what I've seen.
Yeah, it has. As Kevin Anderson, who writes about Eastbourne Borough for us, said it's like the weather. Sometimes it can be sparkling, sometimes it can be pretty awful, and sometimes it can be okay. But 3 games in, it's been a win, a defeat, and a draw for the Sports. It was not quite what they've hoped for, and I mean, I think we all predicted Borough to do quite well before the season. But they opened with a 1-1 draw against Chesham, and then they travelled to another new club, Hornchurch, which they produced a heroic team performance and a memorable 1-0 victory with 10 men. But then on Tuesday night, they lost 2-0 to an experienced Farnborough side. So it's been pretty mixed until, and now I think that they're just right there in the middle of the table, 13th. So they need to improve, I think, but it is still early days and they're sort of finding their feet still again, I imagine, this season. So they've got Aveley tomorrow. Aveley are a side who have struggled at the start of this season. So hopefully they can pick up another win there and just sort of build on confidence from then. But yeah, it's probably, like we said, we predicted them to do well, and it's been a sort of much heralded new season. Lots of money invested in that, but it hasn't quite been the start they wanted, but not too bad. But for Worthing, it's been a bit better. They've only played the 2 games, 1-1 and drawn 1. And it's they're still in their first run of 6 games away from home because of the work going on at Woodside Road. But yeah, as we said before, Agata sees that as sort of a positive, really, and he sees it as credit in the bank and believes it could make them stronger, because the amount of points, if they can pick up any points in any of these games, is a bonus, isn't it? Away from home, always going to be tough. So, and they're going to have a run of games of home games at some point, which will be really good. So, yeah, they're still looking to fill that Ollie Pearce void, and I think he said this week in our Worthing Herald that he's close to getting their centre forward, and he's also said there's potential loan of a wide player from the Premier League to strengthen the side. So looks like they're going to get stronger. And yeah, because I think we all predicted Eastbourne to do better than Worthing, but the way Worthing have started, you've got to be impressed. So absolutely, maybe they could both be up there at the end of the season. So it'd be really good if they could.
Well, fingers crossed they both are. But meanwhile, in the Isthmian Premier, Horsham, Hastings, and most of all Lewis have enjoyed incredibly positive starts to their respective campaigns. Steve Bone, how have those 3 fared after the opening 3 games of the new league season?
Yeah. I mean, anyone who watched the previous episode of this podcast would probably have thought Lewis would have been relegated by now, because I think we've pretty much wrote them off. But perfect start for them under Craig Nelson. You know, new manager, a lot of new players, whole new sort of feel of the club, and they've won 3 out of 3 so far. 2 at home. They've beaten Chatham at home, who are one of the fancy teams. They've won at Bognor, which is not too many teams will win at Bognor this season, you would think. And they've beaten Hashtag as well. So great start for them. As all managers and teams say after 3 games when they've done well, it's only 3 games, not getting carried away, feet on the floor and so on. But it's probably better than most Lewis fans would have expected them to start, which is great for them. Hastings and Horsham, who I think we did tip to do well, have both started reasonably. Both have won 2 of their first 3. I think Hastings are on 7 points, Horsham on 6. Solid enough start. Again, at very early days, but they've given themselves a little platform to build on over the bank holiday weekend and beyond.
Absolutely. You've mentioned Bognor there, Steve. They've enjoyed a less than ideal start to the Isthmian Premier season, along with Whitehawk. Where do both these clubs find themselves at this early juncture?
Yeah, well, both in the bottom 4, to be blunt, after 3 games. Both have 1 point, I think, from 3. Not the start they would have wanted. Bognor are a little unlucky, probably, to only be on 1 point. They could easily have got something from the home game against Lewis, and possibly away to Cheshunt as well, where they only just lost. picked up their first point last weekend at Hastings, where it looked like they were going to lose again. They were 2-0 down, 15 minutes to go, fought back for 2-2. That would have given them some heart. So, as with all the all the teams will be looking at this bank holiday weekend. You've played 3, you're playing another 2 now over this weekend, Saturday, Monday. I think some possibly play Saturday, Tuesday. So that's going to sort out the men from the boys a little bit. But yeah, a rocky start for Bognor and Whitehawk, but plenty of time to pick up.
And what about the division's new boys, Chichester City? How have they acquitted themselves in their first handful of games at Step 3, Steve?
Yeah, 1 win from their first game. They beat Canvey Island at home, came from behind to win that, which was a great start for them. They've lost 2 since they lost away to Horsham, at home to Carshalton. But I spoke to Miles Rutherford this week, the manager, quite happy overall, actually, although it's only 1 win from 3. He thinks they've sort of shown that they can hold their own against good teams. You were at the Horsham Chai game. They were a little bit unlucky to lose that, in that it was still 1-1. They dragged it back to 1-1. And it was still that way with about 5 minutes to go before Horsham found a winner. And equally at home to Carshalton, although they've ended up losing 3-1, it was 1-1 until sort of midway through the second half. Then a couple of sort of basic mistakes at the back cost Chichester. And Rutherford has said, that is one thing, one big difference between Step 4, Step 3 is that if you make a little mistake at the back, far more likely to be punished. And that's what they're going to have to, they'll know that. They've got good coaches in Dabber and Danny Potter there. They'll be drilling that into them. So I think quite an encouraging start for Chichester. They will want to pick up some more points fairly soon. And they've got a tough bank holiday weekend ahead, playing Dover and Bognor. So but a decent start for them.
Yeah, best of luck for the rest of the season. But while we have seen some success for our sides in the Isthmian Premier, our 7 Isthmian South East sides have got off to rocky starts, albeit we've only had 1 game in that league season. How have the teams find the flag for Sussex got on at this very, 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 very early stage, Steve?
Not too well, I think, is in summary. 8 Sussex teams in that division, and on the first weekend, one of them ground out a 0-0 draw. That was East Grinstead. The other 7 all lost. So the only way is up. I think all 4 of the relegation spots at the moment are filled by Sussex teams, but it's only 1 game.
Yeah.
You can't. We're talking about it probably more than we should already. It's 1 game. They've got 40 odd to go. I feel a bit sorry for teams in that division because they've actually had more cup weekends than league weekends so far, and it's the same this weekend. We'll come on to the FA Trophy a bit later in the podcast, but to have played 1 league game when we're sort of 3 weeks into the season seems a bit odd, and it will carry on like that for a few more weeks, I think, with FA Cup and FA Trophy weeks. So I don't think too many of those Sussex teams who haven't won yet will be worried just yet.
I'm sure they'll haul themselves out of danger comfortably, Steve. We won't have anything to worry about. Meanwhile, 2 clubs in the SCFL Premier boast flawless records after 4 league games. Mark, who are the early runners and riders in that division?
Yeah, annoyingly, one of them's not from Sussex. Petersfield Town are currently top on goal difference with 4 wins from 4. But Haywards Heath Town, who again, another team that I think we predicted to do really well this year, they are there, 4 wins out of 4. They haven't conceded a goal yet, scored 9 goals, not conceded anything. So Naeem Rohan told us this week that it's only early days, but I think they set their stall out quite early and they're going to do well. And they've got Lewis Finney, who in 7 games in all competitions this year has already scored 9 goals. We've known him from Lancing and other teams across Sussex. I think Burgess Hill he played for. And so, yeah, he's a prolific player. And if you've got him in your side and if you're not conceding goals, you're going to win a lot of games. And I think Haywards Heath will be up there. Hassocks, they're still unbeaten. They've won 2, drawn 2, and James Westlake this week celebrated his 100th game in charge of Hassocks, so that's good. But Loxwood, I don't know if they're a bit of a surprise package or not, really. I don't think we mentioned them at all in our sort of pre-season picks, but they've won 3 and drawn 1 of their first 4 games. So yeah, it's already. I think you're already seeing a pattern of who's going to be up there towards the end of the season, but you never know. There's still a long way to go.
Up the Magpies is what I say. Come on, Loxwood. And in the division below, the SCFL Division 1, just one side has managed to maintain a 100% record. How does the league table look after 4 games there, Mark?
Yeah, it's Seaford Town. They've won their 4 out of 4. They've been pretty impressive so far, and they've scored 12 goals and only letting 2 in those. But Forest Row, Billingshurst, and East Preston all hot on their heels. They've all won 3, drawn 1, so on 10 points, just 2 points behind. So it's very tight at the top there. But Seaford Town seem to be the early runners. Hayden Beaconsfield, he's got 5 and 5 for Seaford. And for Forest Row, Ben Bacon, he's another player who's been quite prolific over the years. Played for Hayward Heath and Hassocks. He's got 6 and 6 for them. Arundel, who are in 5th, they're the joint top scorers in the league with 13 goals in 4 games, and 12 of those have come from just 2 players, Harry Russell and Ollie Humphreys. So, yeah, you don't want to be coming up against those two if you're playing Arundel. Look out for them. The other end, we've got Montpellier Villa, Copthorne and Allfold, all yet to register a win. So it's going to be a long season ahead for them, I think. But Seaford Town, early runners in League One, so they could be up in the Premier Division next year.
And I think my pick to go up AFC Upfield are comfortably mid-table. So
yes, absolutely. Yeah,
The one team you haven't mentioned there are the team that I've tipped to do well, Worthing United. Are they somewhere?
They're 11th. They've won 2. Yeah, they've won 2, lost 2, scored 6, let in 6. Yeah, I
remain confident.
You remain confident they're going to surge. Yeah.
Yeah. Although I would like to apologise in advance if things go horribly wrong to Uckfield. Don't want to curse them. Last weekend saw several Sussex teams involved in FA Cup preliminary round action, and 5 of our clubs have advanced to the first qualifying round. Steve Bone, who are the lucky quintet to make it through, and how did they manage to advance to the next round?
Yes, all very exciting in the FA Cup for Sussex so far this season. So last weekend we had 12 teams involved in the preliminary round. 5 of them have gone through, and the successful teams are Broadbridge Heath, who had a good win in the derby at Horsham YMCA. 2 sides from Mid Sussex have gone through, Burgess Hill Town and Hayward Heath Town. Notably, Hayward Heath beat Deal Town, who are from the level above them. Naim Ruan was delighted with that performance and victory, so they're through as well. Stenning are through. Stenning obviously new to step 4, but doing well in the FA Cup as well. And 3 Bridges were quite unusual. An unusual little stat for them is that they beat Saltdean in a replay. Both the first game and the replay were at Saltdean, because of course 3 Bridges not able to play at home at the moment, and I think they chose, instead of choosing to play the replay at home, which would have been over in Chatham somewhere, they went back to Saltdean and came through 3-1. So we've got those 5 teams going through, earning a nice bit of prize money, and they will be joined in the next round, the first qualifying round, by 6 teams, 6 Sussex teams from the Isthmian Premier, namely Hastings, Horsham, Lewis, Chichester City, Bognor, Whitehawk. And the good thing is no Sussex derbies in all that in the next round. So potentially all 11 could get through and go on to the second qualifying round. Be good. Probably won't be 11 out of 11, but there'll be plenty of interest in that first qualifying round, which takes place a week tomorrow, 31st of August.
Yeah, you mentioned the draw happened on Monday, Steve. Who were our signs drawing against? I've had a quick look at the draw, and it seems that some of the Isthmian Premier teams have got quite kind draws, although that might be the kiss of death.
Yeah, you've got a number of teams there that have been drawn against lower division sides. Bognor and Horsham, notably, are both playing sides who play 2 divisions below them. You can't take anything for granted in the FA Cup, but generally speaking, step 3 against step 5 is almost always going to, see the step 3 side going through. So I've had a quick scan through of the 11 ties that we're looking at in the next round, and you can comfortably see sort of 6 or 7 of the Sussex sides going through. Just as an example, though, Bognor playing Aylesbury Vale Dynamos, who I hadn't heard of until the cup draw was made, and you sent me the details of the draw on Monday afternoon, didn't you? I had to look them up. It sounds like something from a Roy of the Rovers comic or something, doesn't it? Bognor will need to do their homework on them, though, because they're clearly a team that are coming up through the divisions. They could pose a threat. But I think there's a lot of Sussex teams there, particularly our step 3 teams, will be thinking, yes, we can make further progress here, and we can go on and have a nice little money spinning run.
Absolutely. Moving away from the FA Cup, this Saturday sees 3 Sussex clubs take part in the Premier League round of the FA Trophy. Which 3 clubs are involved, Mr. Dunford, and what are their chances of success, do you think?
Well, so Littlehampton are at home to Rayners Lane. Stenning Town are travelling to South Park, which is in Reigate, and Lancing at home to Southall. Now, they're all Isthmian South Central teams, so I don't know a lot about them. I'm not going to lie. But they've all had mixed starts to the season, just like our Sussex side. So it's you put money on Littlehampton going through just because there's such a good home crowd there, and can be quite intimidating. But I think Steve Bone has something to say about Rayners Lane, an interesting fact connected with Littlehampton.
Well, it's just a little omen. If there's any Littlehampton fans watching who like good omens, when Littlehampton got to Wembley in May 2022. I obviously went to Wembley along with some colleagues to cover the final. I parked at Rayners Lane tube station to get the train into Wembley. So clearly, Littlehampton are going to get to Wembley again this season.
Is that a good omen? Because when you parked there, Littlehampton lost 3-0 in the final. So is that a good omen or a bad omen?
That's true. Well, when they get to this season's final, I will park somewhere else. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no pressure on Mitch and George to get to the final, but you know.
Excellent. It's the funny one though, the FA Trophy, because obviously when Littlehampton got to the FA Vase final, they were obviously in the top division of the teams that could play in the FA Vase. Now they're in the bottom division of who can win the FA, who can play in the FA Trophy. So it's a long way off, and but yeah, it'd be nice if they had a little run in that. I think them and Lancing will probably win. It's tough ask for Stenning to go to South Park and get a result, I think, but. Yeah, it's a tough competition, certainly for with the FA Vase. It's sort of a little bit more open, isn't it? The FA Trophy, you've got the National League sides in there and that, so it's a long way to go. But no, hopefully wins for hopefully wins for all 3. But I think Littlehampton and Lancing stand the best chance this weekend.
Yes, you do make a good point about the FA Trophy, because you do get professional teams, don't you, playing in the FA Trophy?
Yeah, exactly.
Which does make it much tougher for us. But yes, best.
We'll have Worthing and Eastbourne Borough joining in with the trophy in later rounds as well, of course, and maybe both of those would fancy their chances of a good run this year.
Absolutely, and a day out of Wembley, more importantly. And finally, speaking of the FA Vase, 21 of our county's non-league teams are involved in first qualifying round action in the FA Vase, also on Saturday. Which are the ties to look out for, Mark? I know there are a lot of them, but are there any of the chances our sides could make a deep run in this season's competition and do a little Hampton?
Yeah, well, there's too many cup competitions. That's what I've gathered from this, anyway. But yeah, I suppose the team you have to look at is Haywards Heath Town, because they're doing so well at the start of the season. They got players who can beat anyone, and like we mentioned, Lewis Finney already. So, yeah, you'd have to look at Haywards Heath as the team who's probably stand the best chance of getting far in it. But it is such a lottery, the FA Vase. There could be a team in Newcastle that will probably have a star striker or something there as well. So, any of these teams think they could probably go far. But we've got a few all Sussex ties. We've got Montpellier Villiers versus Haywards Heath Town, but we've already discussed that. Haywards Heath have won every game. Montpellier Villiers have lost every game, so you'd expect them to go through that. You've got Oakwood versus Alfold, Hassocks versus Storrington, Crowborough Athletic versus Wick. Might be the most interesting one, and a possible shot, Corsham YM versus East Preston. East Preston haven't lost this season yet in Division 1, and YM are 7th in the Premier. So, East Preston might fancy their chances of pulling off a little minor shock there, but it's at these early stages, you hope to get through them, and then avoid the other Sussex teams that do go through will want to avoid Haywards Heath Town. But there's 21 teams going through, so we could have at least 10 of them, 11, 12, 13 of them going through, I think. So it's an interesting one. Loxwood, who we talked about earlier, they're away at Kennington, so hopefully they can continue their good start to the season and get through as well.
Well, best of luck to all our sides in cup action this weekend. And as customary for our non-league podcast, each of us will pick our game of the week, where we select a fixture involving a Sussex club that we think you should keep an eye out for. And as it's a bank holiday weekend, we've all selected one game from Saturday and one from Monday. I will get the ball rolling. The game on Saturday, I think you should keep your eye out for, is South Park Reigate against Stenning in the FA Trophy, as I believe it's Stenning's first ever FA Trophy game. So best of luck to the Barra in that one. And the game on Monday, I think everyone should look out for is, it's got 100% for me, got to be Chichester City against Bognor, a very local rivalry. And I think, Steve, it might be their first ever meeting at Step 3, I think.
I'm pretty sure it is. And, well, it must be because Chichester have never been at Step 3 before. And it's also the first league meeting between the two teams for a very long time. You'd probably have to go back to when both are in the county league, which in Bognor's case is a long time ago. So, yeah, they've played each other in a couple of cups and a lot of friendly since. But, yeah, lots riding on that. And Chichester are hoping for a huge crowd in Oaklands Park on Monday afternoon for that one.
And I've got no doubt that there will be a huge crowd at Oaklands Park. Mark, what 2 games have caught your eye over the bank holiday weekend?
Well, Bognor Chai is obviously the main Steve Bone derby, but we're now going to call Littlehampton Town and Rayners Lane the Steve Bone sort of minor derby. Yeah, so I'm going for that one because, yeah, Littlehampton, obviously we all remember when they got to Wembley and that, and it's a chance for them to have another little cup run in the FA Trophy. So going there for that, it'll always be a good atmosphere down there. And on Monday, I've gone for Eastbourne Town versus Burgess Hill Town, an early 6-pointer. I know they've only played 1 game each, and they lost both those games, but they're both in the relegation zone at the moment. If you look at the table this early on in the season, but yeah, they'll both be looking to win. I think again, Burgess Hill Town were another team that we've tipped to do quite well this year. So they didn't have the greatest of starts, but they'll be looking to get something. And again, as Saffrons is another great place to go and watch football. Really scenic and always a good atmosphere there.
All good picks. And finally, Steve, what 2 games should we look out for, do you think, this weekend?
Okay, so Saturday, I'm going to go for one of those FA Vase ties. I'm going to go for Sussex against Storrington, one of the Sussex derbies. I just got a little feeling that maybe Sussex might be the team from Sussex to go on a little Vase run and get us excited. They've had a good couple of years under James Westlake. Mark, you mentioned that he's just had his 100th game as manager. I read somewhere that he's actually won 50 out of those 100, which is a great record. Great record at any level, to be honest. But yeah, Sussex, before he took over as manager, they were a bit mid-table, a few relegation battles. So he's really sort of moved them up a few levels. And of course, they've got Darren Budd on the staff now. I think chiefly coaching, but can play a little bit still as well. So that sort of experience will serve them well. So yeah, watch out for Sussex in the FA Vase. It'd be nice to see a good crowd down there tomorrow. And on Monday, as Matt Pole has unashamedly trodden on my patch and gone for Chichester, I'm gonna tread on his, and I'm going to go for Dover against Horsham, which I think is a really interesting game in the Isthmian Premier. Dover, a lot of people expect them to do well. They've only won 1 of their first 3, but scored 11 goals because they scored 8 at Potter's Bar in the first game. So I think away to Dover is a really good test of where Horsham are going to be and how strong they're going to be this season. Probably be happy to come away from there with a point, I would think. But if you can go to Dover and win early season, good marker of where you're going to be this season. So
yes, should be a great game. Should be a very great game. Well, thank you both, chaps, for joining me this week. And don't forget, sussexworld.co.uk/sport and our newspapers are the best place to get your Sussex non-league coverage. Thank you very much for listening and watching, and we will see you in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you very much.